Hi everyone. My name is Ricardo, back again on the topic of the Yazidi genocide and what had been going on during the event. For this episode, I'd like to go more in depth with one of the head figures, in which made great strides for the Yazidi people and their freedom and representation. I'm of course talking about Vian Dakil, a Yazidi Kurd who is a current member in Iraqi parliament. Born in 1971, Nakil serves as a beacon of hope to the whole Yazidi community during their time of crisis, as she made great strides in calling for aid in the Iraqi parliament and international humanitarian groups for the safety, hunger, and shelter of the Yazidi. Not much is known about her background. Whether she is married or whether she has kids is not known to the public. Since the events of the Yazidi genocide were recent, she is still present in the Iraqi government to this day, actively creating reform for the country in support of the Yazidi population. Now, I'd like to go more into detail with Viandakil's impact on subsiding the Yazidi genocide. To give context to the situation, on August 4th, 2014, ISIS launched an attack on Sinjar, a predominantly Yazidi populated city, where they were met with no resistance as Peshmerga, the militant forces that were keeping the city protected, withdrew from the area. This led to hundreds of Yazidi men being murdered and ISIS capturing the city within mere hours of the invasion. Because of this, Viendakil was distraught on the situation arising in Sinjar, and so on the next day in the Iraqi parliament, she gave an appeal to rescue the Yazidi from further extermination by ISIS. As seen on Hands of Syria, a YouTube channel in which documents the events, lives, and actions taken up by the Yazidi population, Viandakil in her statement to the parliament exclaims, "There are Yazidis who now live in the Sinjar Mountains, Mr. Speaker. We are being slaughtered under the banner of there is no God but Allah. Mr. Speaker, until now, 500 Yazidi men have been slaughtered. Mr. Speaker, our women are being taken as slaves and sold in the slave market. There is now a campaign of genocide being waged on the Yazidi constituent. An entire religion is being exterminated from the face of the earth. Brothers, I appeal to you in the name of humanity to save us." I decided to choose this speech as her statement came from a real place of panic, and actively was the root of all the positive changes and actions that took place for the Yazidi after this fact. All aid that came afterwards for the people of Mount Sinjar can all be linked down to this message by Viandakil. In this speech, Vian expresses her utter dismay in the Yazidi situation in Sinjar, asking not only the Parliament of Iraq, but to the whole League of Nations indirectly, to come into the aid for the people atop Mount Sinjar. With Dakil's display of bravery and justice, countries were now responding to this situation, where according to Serena Arena, she states under her journal article Peace Profile, Viandakil, that the appeal garnered international attention and helped foster greater interests in the plight of the Yazidi people, and resulted in the increase of aid being given to the area. One leading example of the effects of Dakil's speech is President Barack Obama's authorization of airstrikes near the city of Sinjar to liberate the city from ISIS military occupation. This only happened after the genocide had begun, where according to Helene, Cooper, Lander, and Rubin, According to Helene Cooper, Lander, and Rubin, journalists from the New York Times states, President Obama announced he had authorized limited airstrikes against Islamic militants in Iraq, scrambling to avert the fall of the Kurdish capital, Erbil, and returning the United States to a significant battlefield role in Iraq. These journalists elaborate further in their article how the U.S. sent aid to the Yazidi up Mount Sinjar, saying that aircraft were assigned to drop food over the territory. Although the flight lasted only 15 minutes, the U.S. were able to deliver 5,300 gallons of drinking water and 8,000 meals ready to eat, along with having the U.S. aircraft fly over the area until they had safely cleared it. These righteous actions of the U.S. would have unlikely been carried out if it wasn't for the plea and first step that Viandakil took in the justice for not only her people, but for the right to a peaceful life for all of humanity, and to never let a group of people go unchecked. Along with her impressive statement in the condition of the Yazidi, Dakil also personally assisted the Yazidi herself, going up to the mountains and actively risked her life in doing so. This is aptly expressed by Irina, where she mentions that in August of 2014, Dakhil was aboard a helicopter delivering supplies and attempting to transport some Yazidi to safety after being trapped in the Sinjar Mountains fleeing Daesh forces. Weighed down with the number of Yazidi being rescued, the aircraft crashed, killing the pilot and injuring many aboard, including Dakhil, who suffered injuries to her legs and head. This act of bravery and responsibility for the Yazidi is what makes Dakhil one of the most impactful leaders for Iraq and a great model for all humanitarians worldwide. For her demonstrations of courage, in 2014, Dakhil received the Anna Politkovskaya Award for her determination in confiding in the protection of the Yazidi in Iraq. Not only that, but in June of 2017, according to Irina, Dakhil was honored with the American Jewish Committee Moral Courage Award, where Cory Berger, chair of AGC's Women's Leadership Board, says Dakhil serves a ray of hope in the fight against the evil genocide caused by ISIS, along with congratulating her for having saved as much as 10,000 Yazidis in her selfless actions. As a minority on many accounts, being a woman in the Iraqi parliament, the only Yazidi representative in government, and the only one who vocally stood up for those in need, she serves as a great influence on the positive changes in Iraq, in which she is actively working towards this day. Thank you, Dakhil, for not only what you do for the Yazidi, but for the preservation of humanity and culture.